Hi, and welcome back to the Breakdown with Bethany. I'm Bethany Braun Silva, and we may have a brand new look, but we're still breaking it down with some of your favorite celebrities, entrepreneurs, and experts. In fact, today is a very special Father's Day episode, and my guest is Jesse Tyler Ferguson. We're going to be talking all about raising his two boys, his surrogacy journey, and his brand new podcast. So be sure to check it out. I wanted to start by saying that I actually had Julie Bowen on the podcast like a couple of months ago, and we talked a bit because I'm a boy mom. And so we talked, she's such an expert like on everything mother.
Yes.
So I wanted to jump in and see like what advice has she given you on your parenting journey
Yeah.
so far?
Oh my God. It's so funny that you said that because she's literally on my speed dial as like my friend who like I call like first if I have any questions about anything. Beckett and Sullivan, well, mostly Beckett. He was going through like a respiratory thing. He just maybe might have a little asthma. And so I called her right away. I was like, we're putting him on a nebulizer. Like, talk me off a ledge. It just seems really intense. And she's like, oh my God, my boys were on one of those like every 3 weeks. Like, it's not a big deal. They outgrow it. It's gonna be fine. You're doing a great job. She puts me at ease so many times. I mean, I truly, if I showed you our text exchange, it's just basically me asking for advice and her like coming up with the greatest advice. It's always the right answer too.
I feel like,
She's been through all this.
yeah, I feel like we all need Julie Bowen like on like speed dial
Yeah,
like for our parenting journey. But also,
yeah,
Father's Day is coming up. Do you and Justin have big plans? I mean, I know we're here to talk about Sullivan's big 6 month
yeah.
milestone, but what's going on for Father's Day?
Well, first of all, happy Mother's Day, which was just a few days ago.
Yes,
Um, Mother's Day was Sullivan's 6 month birthday. 6 month, yeah, 6 month. Father's Day's coming up. Yes. I don't know. It's I don't know what we'll do. I just feel like we have so many things to celebrate. Um, Father's Day sort of feels like oh, obviously I'm gonna acknowledge it. We'll probably exchange cards. I'm more interested in like getting Beckett involved in it for him, and probably Justin the same for me. Like, yeah, it's less about me wishing him happy Father's Day, and I really want to like I want Beckett to understand like this is a day that you get to say something nice for to dad and papa, like show us show of course I want him to show me how much he loves me, but like show dad how much you love him, and like try and figure out like what that means for us. He's still too young to sort of, if it doesn't involve him, he's not super interested. But I'm sure we'll do something special. I think last year we just like went out to brunch with our family. It was nice.
it is nice to have like a celebration. I do feel like for me it's like overblown, right? Like sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, the pressure's too much.
Yeah,
Like, can we just make it a regular Sunday? So like I
yeah, for
totally,
sure.
totally get that. But I did want to talk about, feeding journeys. I loved your Instagram post. You were so, I mean, it's so funny. I mean, like moms, as I'm sure you know, we get a lot of flack about like how we choose to feed our babies and things like that.
Yes,
And you kind of put
yes.
it out there in such a funny way. So let's talk about that for a little bit.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's a new era now that we have so much social media. It's not that new actually that we have social media, but like I just feel like everyone has this platform to give you the advice that they think is best. And it's really easy to get caught up in like all of that and that chatter of it all. And you just have to figure out what's best for you. Like for Justin and I, obviously we're not breastfeeding this baby. So we had to look for what's going to work for us. And when we had both Sullivan and Beckett in the hospital, we were given Infamil at the hospital. So I was like, okay, well, great, that's great. They trust it. I'm going to trust it. And so when we decided to have a second one, and we were doing the research with Sullivan, I did my research and I saw that Inspire Optimum was Infamil's closest formula to breast milk. I was like, this is great. It's the only leading brand with lactoferrin. Like these are all buzzwords that I learned like with when Beckett was a kid. I didn't know what lactoferrin was. I didn't know what colostrum was. I do now. I do now after Beckett. And so like, the fact that this brand, the Inspire Optimum, contains these ingredients is like, this is fantastic. So it was a no-brainer for us. And I have so many friends, both gay and straight, who have gone through different means to expand their family, either through adoption or surrogacy or through they were lucky enough to get pregnant. naturally, and so it was a nice surprise. Um, and then there's like this other like whole other set of like ways you can feed a kid too. So it's really worked out well for us. And I know that I'm giving my baby the best possible chance at the greatest nutrition possible. And it's just, it was always a no-brainer for us. And it also took like a lot of stress off the table. Like there was like, okay, well, at least we know that that thing is taken care of. We know we're going to be feeding the kid. Um, yeah, and then and it's gonna get fun soon. Like it's not just a bottle of formula. It's like you start introducing solids, and like it's and Beckett's on a whole other eating journey right now. He's like super picky. The other day he's like, I want a grilled cheese, strawberries, milk, and yogurt. And like he like put it in order like he was at like, like I was a line cook. And I was like, great, let's do that. Um, so it's fun. It's fun, and it's also great that in these early months, like the feeding part's like one thing I don't have to think about with Sully.
Yeah.
One thing off the table.
One thing off the table, I totally agree. I mean, there is so much stress around raising kids. I've been a parenting editor and a mom for 11 years. And if anything we can kind of like give peace of mind to around parenting
Yeah.
is such a win. So I'm so glad that you found that, because it's like a lot of stress. And then, like you said, with social media, it can also be a lot of stress. But
Yeah. Everyone's an expert.
yeah, and one thing I did talk about with Julie is like we love Modern Family. Like even though it's been off the air, it's like such an impactful show. And I mentioned to her, like, even like as a fictional mom and even a real life mom, she's so inspiring. And that certainly was the case with your character and your partner on Modern Family. It's something, and I
Yeah.
have to tell you, I this is what I do on Instagram. I just scroll Modern Family bloopers. So like
They're
it's
really good.
my favorite thing to do. So I want to say, how has that? I mean, now that the show's been off the air and people did talk about it so much, the impactfulness of your relationship on Modern Family. How does that sort of impact you now looking back?
Yeah, I mean, I was able in the moment to know and to recognize that the presence of Mitch and Cam on national television in people's living rooms across the country and across the world was a big deal. Like I definitely was able to step out of the job at hand and like and recognize the brevity of all that. And it was really cool. It's also something that I couldn't get too hung up on because I had a job to do. And it's at the end of the day, we're doing a sitcom and we're meant to make people laugh. But I could see that there was social ramifications to this couple being on television. And I live my life as a gay man. I'm married to a wonderful husband. We have 2 kids together. So like I I know that that relationship is impactful, and it's visibility is very important. And I wish I had a show like Modern Family on when I was younger, but I'm so happy that it exists now, and I'm so happy that I got to be a part of that. Um, and since it's been off the air, it's so fun. I was just talking with I have a podcast that I just started myself, and Busy Phillips was my guest last. I talked to her over the weekend, and she was talking about how her older daughter Birdie just started watching Modern Family, and Birdie identifies as non-binary, and like she's really into the fact that there's this gay couple on network television, and she's binging the series, and like it's a whole new crop of people who are watching the show, and reruns are streaming, and I love that it doesn't just exist in a time capsule and people are still discovering it and it seems to still be making an impact. It's very, very meaningful to me.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is. It's definitely one of my favorite shows to this day. Like even just going back and watching it, I absolutely love it.
Mm,
But you did mention the podcast, so I would love to talk about that.
yeah.
I watched mine just a few months ago, and actually saw you talking on the Today Show with Hoda and Jenna about an inn, and so I had this whole inn prepared for you. Like I'm like a reformed theater. I
Yes.
went to Tish and got my MFA from the Actors Studio. I don't really do it, but I was like, oh, that's what I'll talk to Jesse about.
Amazing. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let's see. I would love to hear about the podcast and like how you're approaching it. You sound like I mean, I know it's not even out yet, but by the time this episode is out, it will be. So tell us about some of the guests. You just mentioned Busy Phillips. So
Yeah, it starts on May 23rd. So and episodes drop every, I guess that's every Tuesday, right? Um it's I've taken the podcast. I've taken my podcast out of the studio and into restaurants that I love going to, both in Los Angeles and New York City. And I find that some of the best conversations happen over a really great meal. And so I'm inviting people that I love out to dinner, and we're having these really wonderful conversations. And the topics span from everything from what we're eating, obviously, but then also we delve into subjects like mental health and culinary appropriation. I talk about with Padma Lakshmi. I talk about parenting with a lot of these people. Jesse Williams and I talk about father-son relationships. Uh, Kristen Bell and I talk about mental health. Fred Armisen and I talk about what it's like to be on a show for 11 years and leave that behind, and like what it means to sort of like say goodbye to a chapter of your life. It's been very fulfilling. I've really enjoyed doing the research for a lot of these people that I already know really well. I'm sitting down with my friend Elizabeth Banks tomorrow, who I've known for 25 years, and I'm looking at her research, and I'm like, I know all this stuff, and I'm like, oh, actually, there's stuff on here I didn't know. So I'm really excited to, sit down with her and discuss that. And yeah, it's been a really fun thing to work on.
And it sounds like it wasn't necessarily like a planned next step in your career trajectory that you
No,
and all of that.
no. It was pitched to me actually. This is a concept that sort of existed in the minds of these producers that I have over at Neon Hum and Sony, and they sought me out as a possible host of it. And um, it took me a little time to think about it and think of, is this something I really want to do? I always consider myself an actor first, but it's fun to try new things and take myself out of my comfort zone, and also I get to eat really great meals with people I like, so it's kind of a no brainer.
Yeah, I can't really ask for much more. If it's okay with you, just finally, I wanted to touch on a little bit about your surrogacy journey. I think,
Hmm.
for a long time, as I mentioned, I was a parenting editor. We were really trying, and we still are trying to shine a light on, destigmatize things like postpartum depression. And I think
Hmm.
surrogacy might fall under the umbrella of something that needs a little bit of destigmatizing. And I would love to just hear
Sure.
you and Justin's journey with it, and then welcome going from 1 to 2 kids and how that has been.
Yeah. Well, for us, surrogacy was always going to be something that we were going to go with. And I'll tell you why. Justin is a cancer survivor. He survived non-Hodgkin's lymphoma when he was 14 years old, and before he went into radiation and chemotherapy, his parents banked his sperm. And so it's so funny. Like that, I remember after we got married, they handed me like the sperm bank was like up for renewal. You had to like give, I don't know, $60 or whatever a year to like keep it on ice. And it was like this moment where his parents like handed me over the materials for like renewing the sperm bank. And I was like, oh, what a passing of the torch this is. And so, yeah, we always knew that we wanted to honor that decision that they made. Um, and then when it came to number two, we just sort of thought, well, we have these eggs, like let the there because the second Sully's genetically connected to me, so there is a connection between the two of them with the same egg donor. So it's what made sense to us. I think there are so many ways to expand your family, adoption being one of them. Obviously, you can go through surrogacy. If you're lucky enough to just have a nice happy surprise, that's also great. Um, but I just feel like anyone who wants to expand their family should be able to do that and do it in the way that feels right for them. Um, and it's been nothing but a positive experience for us. And I just know that I can't imagine my life without these two little people in my life, and I would hate for anyone to feel like they can't have that opportunity to be a parent because maybe they're not able to do so naturally. And you should do it in the way that feels right for you.
Yeah, I love that.
It's a
I
very personable thing. Yeah, it's a very personal thing.
Absolutely. And I said that was going to be my last question, but I do have one more because it
Yeah.
got me thinking about when I went from 1 to 2 children, and I have 2 boys. I mentioned we brought my older son to the hospital, and he was like, "All right, cool, baby, but like, all right, like, who's mom? Like, who's the mommy?" Like, he's definitely like he was like totally did not accept that this was like, a part of our this person was.
Oh wow. No.
I'm wondering what was Beckett's reaction to welcoming Sully home.
It's so interesting because, we didn't have a baby bump. We didn't have a baby growing inside our bellies to say, like, your baby brother is in here. Our surrogate lived in another state. So um we talked a lot about, in whatever ways we could, in whatever ways we could understand, how a baby brother was coming, and Papa and Daddy were going to be bringing a little baby brother home to him. And he knew he was a baby. Like, he saw the crib being set up. He saw, like, the space that we were creating for baby brother, and he was excited about it. But also, he was like, "I'm busy. I'm doing other things. Like, I got swim class. I'm doing soccer. I'm off to preschool. Like, all right, like, that's great, but I'm busy." Um, and he still sort of is that way a little bit. Like, he doesn't interact too much with them because he's busy, and Sully's, basically a little lump. So it's been really fun watching him, though. He definitely likes the mantle and the title of being a big brother, which I think is really charming.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Like, I mean, it's typical of, like, toddlers and younger kids, even older kids, to just like really like
Yeah.
all about me, so whatever.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So much, Jesse, thank you so much. This has been such a fun conversation, and best of luck on your parenting journey and the new podcast.
Thank you so much, Bethany.
All right, take care.